Hello and welcome to Sonnia Spotlight, where I shine a light on people, places, and things you ought to know. I'm your host, Sonnia, and today we have Mikayla, the creator of Vegan Grocery Grabs. Mikayla, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Of course. Hello. How are you doing today?
Good, good. So, Mikayla, I wanted to get you on here because I wanted to have someone who's in college, who's who's a vegan, and is
hmm
successful at it. So, I thought I would bring you on and ask a couple of questions that I've had. A couple of college students who are looking to become vegan or having a hard time staying vegan have asked.
hmm
So, I think that this is going to be a wonderful segment for them and for anyone who needs those tips. So so you're in college and you have the
hmm
Vegan Grocery Grabs Instagram page.
hmm
Tell us about that page and what inspired you to create that.
So I kind of created the page right around the time I went vegan, about a year and a half ago. And I realized that I started noticing I was taking pictures of a lot of vegan products and kind of almost just to kind of put that in my own folder, my own gallery, just so that I would know when I would go back to the store what to look for. But then I realized that those pictures and those kind of hints and helpful products might help other people who are looking to become vegan and may not know where to start, may
Mhm.
not know what to even look for, what might be vegan, what might not, because a lot of things are accidentally vegan and stuff. When I started doing the research and started really kind of venturing into the grocery store and realizing all the possibilities that were out there, I kind of realized, okay, this might be helpful for other people that might not have even really ventured around the grocery store step foot and kind of know what's vegan, what's not. And so I kind of wanted to create that atmosphere for people to make it a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more, let them kind of ease into it and realize that it's not as daunting as it should be or as it seems.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I find that a lot of the things that you post, sometimes I haven't even seen in the store. So then I see it and then I'm
hmm
like, okay, I have to make sure that I add that to my list when I go grocery. It's really helpful. It's super helpful.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
I found that like when I started kind of shopping for myself, looking around at products, I took an interest to grocery stores and just
Mhm.
finding those products. It was almost like a little success, a little win for myself. I was like, wow, this is vegan. Like I had no idea. Like that's so cool. And so I was like, you know what, this might be something that other people would be interested in. And sometimes it's just the little things, the little products that you're like, okay, that can really make a difference in my kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true because there are some foods that are out there that are like, you didn't know that they were always vegan, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so it's really
definitely.
interesting
You
to
kind of just pass by things in the grocery store and you're like, you didn't take a second look or look at the
right.
ingredients. Because sometimes, that can also be time consuming as well, is like
Yeah.
turning everything around and looking at those ingredients. And so it is nice to have a place where you can just see a list or just see products and you're like, you don't even have to think twice about it. And then you can go to the grocery store and not have to take that extra time if you're, if someone doesn't have those extra few minutes or to spend on every product looking,
Yeah.
reading each ingredient list.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually saw on a couple of other pages like Veg News, and I think
hmm
PETA too. They used your pictures in their stuff,
Yeah.
which was really
Oh
cool.
my goodness. That was so exciting to me. I think I first click on a Veg News article and I saw, I think at least two or three of the posts that I had made in that article. And that was just so heartwarming. I was like, my efforts have finally been noticed. I was like, that is so cool that a bigger vegan organization is finally like, is recognizing what I'm posting. I think it was just so nice to see. I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's actually making an impact and people are actually able to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so with that, you also post budget finds, right? And so,
hmm
have you found that it's difficult on a college budget to find vegan options?
At first, it was a little bit harder, I think, because when you walk in the grocery store, you see those products, the vegan products, they can be a little bit more expensive than their, non-vegan counterparts. And so that can be a little bit daunting. You're like, okay, this vegan diet might be more expensive. But I think the more research I did, the more I looked around, the more I was focusing on budget finds and trying to fit that within a certain budget, it really became a lot easier, and like finding different places to shop that I can find those discounted products at, and not necessarily buying them at full value, which I would love to be able to support those businesses within full value. But as a college student as well, it is a little bit difficult when you are on a budget and you are trying to save money, but you are still trying to live a vegan lifestyle and eat a vegan diet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that, because that's one of the, not just with college students, but
Mm-hmm.
in general, is kind of a myth that's out there that, oh, when you eat vegan, it's actually a lot more expensive. But I mean,
Yeah.
with a page like yours, you show that not really. You can find deals out there.
Being a vegan, might seem that it's more expensive at first, but definitely when you break it down and you kind of look for those discounts, look for those deals, and especially if you're just eating basics, beans, rice, vegetables, fruits, things like that, it can really become inexpensive, and it can actually be a lot more budget friendly than a non-vegan diet.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things I wanted to bring up is, in college, of course, you've got a ton of activities and a ton of studying
Mm-hmm.
to do. What types of food do you prep that is easy and fits into your schedule?
I'll usually take a day out of the week or the weekend, and I'll kind of make a list of what I'm going to need or what I want to prep, make like a little recipe out of it, maybe kind of figure out what I'm going to be eating that week. And then I'll usually go to the grocery store, pick up whatever I'm kind of needing. And then usually once or twice throughout the week, I'll make like a big meal. I'll make a big batch of, usually it tends to be pasta. I'll do a lot of protein pastas with different vegetables, kind of mix it up with the sauces. I do a lot of salads, do a lot of different like grain bowls and things like that. And I'll make those kind of bigger meals, and then I'll portion them out to kind of last me a few days after that, so that I don't have to cook every single day and don't have to cook and worry about fitting that into my schedule. So that if I kind of see and plan ahead, that I know that I'm going to have a day where I have less responsibilities and a little bit less of a busy schedule, then I'll take the time to cook on those days. And then it'll be able to last me those days where I might be a little bit busier and need a fulfilling, a meal.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a great tip. I mean, again, not just for college students, but for everyone in
Mm-hmm.
general. It's a really
College or not, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. And so I mean, it's a little different now with the pandemic, but when you were
Yeah.
on campus, did you always bring your food, or did you purchase, how vegan friendly was your campus?
Campus was, we didn't have actually a lot of options. So I didn't eat at the dining hall because I lived off campus. But on our campus, we had a Taco Bell. We had a few other little different restaurants that I was not familiar with and I was not really able to eat at. And then we had one restaurant that actually did have one labeled vegan bowl. So it was like a Buddha bowl, and they had chickpeas and rice, different like, I don't exactly remember the sauces or whatever, but that struck me, and I was like, that's very interesting that they have this vegan bowl. And then of course the Taco Bell, you can kind of customize different Taco Bell things. But for the most part, I did end up bringing my own food just because of budget reasons and just for health reasons. It ended up being a lot easier for me to bring the food because on my campus, we did have microwaves. So that if I did want to heat up my food and then eat it that way, I could. So it was very conducive to what I wanted to eat. And so I was able to bring those things from home. But if I was in a little bit of a pinch or I had forgotten something and I needed a quick meal or quick snack between classes, I would, sometimes hit up the Taco Bell and things like that.
So you go to Fresno State, right?
Mm-hmm.
So have you seen a big vegan community there?
At Fresno State on the campus, I did not really recognize a big vegan community just specifically on the campus. We did have kind of like a sustainability club, where I met a few vegans there. We didn't actually have a vegan club or anything like that on campus, but Fresno actually has a really good vegan community where I found a lot of actually college age students that I didn't necessarily meet on campus, but I met them through the community organization. So I found that was extremely helpful when I had moved down there, was becoming a part of that organization and going to their events and then meeting people my age that were also vegan, and we kind of could share those similar experiences.
Right. Yeah. And that's a really good tip too for
Hmm.
anyone anywhere that going to college. If there is not a huge vegan presence on campus, to that there may be groups out there that you can
Yeah,
join.
definitely. And I think they help you keep accountable. They just kind of help with just your lifestyle. And especially while in college, it can be a little bit difficult while you've got other things to focus on,
Mhm.
and other activities and classes and things like that. I think it's good to have like a group that you can fall back on. And
Yeah.
if you need advice, or, just friends within the vegan community, it's always nice to have those people surrounding you.
Yeah. And I'm sure that you have some friends that are not vegan that you go out to eat
Hmm.
with. Do you find that it's difficult when you go out to eat with them, with the non-vegans?
I would say when I first went vegan, it was extremely difficult. I kind of just didn't know what to look for at restaurants. I didn't know where I could go, what places had options and things like that. But I think nowadays, I think veganism is just rapidly growing. And I think a lot of restaurants just have a lot more options. So I find that it's extremely easy now. And I think as I've kind of grown in my veganism, as well as just veganism growing as a whole, I think that it's become a lot easier to find those options throughout restaurants, throughout little fast food places, chains, stuff like that. I think the options are becoming a lot more readily available as companies realize that vegans are out there and they're looking for places to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those that, have been vegan for a long time, I've heard them tell us
Hmm.
that, hey, the ones that are vegan now and just starting out, it's a lot better than it was
Yeah.
before. There's so many
Yeah.
more options out there.
I'm extremely grateful. I feel like I became vegan at like a perfect time where I got to experience a little bit of that just as I was first emerging into it. But then now
Yeah.
that it's becoming so available, there's options everywhere. There's, vegan products coming out on the daily, that it is extremely easy. And I find that I'm just so grateful because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a great time to be vegan.
Definitely.
So, there are a lot of, what I eat in a day type videos that are out there. And so I
Hmm.
thought I would ask you to kind of walk us through your typical day.
So my typical day, I usually start off in the morning, usually with some sort of coffee or some sort of caffeine, just to get me going. Sometimes I'll do like a chai latte with oat milk, or a coffee with a little bit of like soy creamer or something. And then I typically have, if I'm kind of running out the door and need something quick, I'll usually have like avocado on toast, something like that. Sometimes I'll have tofu scramble kind of prepped, and then I'll just be able to throw that in the microwave, or a little bit of like a frozen breakfast burrito in the freezer. And then for lunch, if I'm more on the go, I'll usually have something packed that I might have made, like some sort of pasta dish or whatnot. But if I find myself at home, I'll usually make some sort of like a veggie burger, or some sort of like chickpea salad sandwich.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, like snacks thrown in throughout the day. So usually like a little bit of a granola bar, or some sort of like nuts and seeds, or something like that. And then I would say for dinner, it really depends. Like, it kind of just depends on how I'm feeling or what I have available. But usually some sort of salad or grain bowl. I try to make sure that it has a good enough amount of protein in my vegetables for the day. Like, dinner is usually kind of when it comes together, and when I try to like be the most healthy, and the most like kind of like come together with that meal, and meet my needs and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's kind of what my typical day of eating looks like. I try to just make sure I have enough snacks, have enough, to eat enough calories throughout the day to kind of keep me full and keep me going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important to share those types of examples, right? Because
Hmm.
when people hear that, like, okay, that's a typical day for someone who's busy, right?
Yeah,
Then they'll get their own ideas, and it'll help them out a lot. So thanks for sharing
definitely.
that. What tips do you have for college students who are either looking to become vegan or are having a hard time uh, staying vegan?
My advice would just be start slow. Like, just start slow, kind of ease into it, maybe cut out meat a few days a week, cut out maybe dairy and eggs a few times a week, kind of just experiment with meals, experiment with buying different vegan products, seeing how you like it, maybe do a swap out vegan cheese for regular cheese for a week and kind of see how you adjust to that, or swap out your milk for soy milk and kind of just experiment with those things, find out what you like, find out what you don't like. And it's okay if you don't like something that's vegan. That's okay. Like your taste buds might change, things might change, but I would say just start slow. Someone who's kind of entering the world of veganism is just kind of do your research and don't beat yourself up if something happens to not be vegan, then you consume it, or you find out later that, you know, something had dairy in it, and that's okay. And, you know, we all make mistakes. Even those who have been vegan for a long time still tend to make mistakes sometimes. And so it's something that sometimes we can't control it. And sometimes it is something that we might have accidentally consumed. And so accidents happen. And I think it's okay to like, just forgive yourself and kind of understand that, you know, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's wonderful advice, and thank you for sharing that. So we are at the part of the interview that I call Fave Five, right? Ask
Mm-hmm.
5 of your favorite things. And so the first one is, what is your favorite comfort food?
Oh, that's a really tough question, but if I had to narrow it down to kind of one thing, my absolute favorite comfort food is cinnamon rolls. I'm just a huge dessert fan, and I think something that is really just nostalgic for me is cinnamon rolls. We used to have them for Christmas every year with my family, and they're just kind of one of those things that I feel like is just so warm and comforting that I could eat a cinnamon roll all year round, and just I just love it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we have, I'm not sure if you have it out there, but we have a Cinnaholic that's over here.
Hmm.
Oh man, if they
Oh,
dress
I
up
love
the vegan
Cinnaholic.
cinnamon, it's so good.
Oh my goodness. I think actually the first time I went to Cinnaholic, I went to the one in Berkeley and I wasn't even vegan at the time. And I didn't realize it was even a vegan establishment. I was just like, you know, a cinnamon roll place. And so I had walked in and had kind of ordered my cinnamon roll, and I went back in to ask them a question. And I realized they had a little mini fridge of like soy milk and almond milk. And I was like, interesting. I wonder if they're a vegan establishment. So I asked and they said they were. And that was so surprising to me because it wasn't advertised vegan. It wasn't like everything said vegan on it. But I thought, that's really cool. That's really neat to see a vegan business thriving that doesn't necessarily have to throw the name vegan on everything that they're selling.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so my second question would be, what is your favorite restaurant?
If I had to narrow it down to one, and I'm actually cheating a little bit because this one's a food truck, but I have to say in Fresno, Planet Vegan Burgers is my absolute all-time favorite, like vegan establishment. The business is Black owned, and so it is just I love supporting that business, and they just have a great food truck. They have great attitudes. The people there working there are just amazing. Like every time I've gone, there's such a long line, but if there's a reason for it, and they've really brought the vegan community together in Fresno with offering such amazing options that even non-vegans love to enjoy. Like I've talked to so many people that have tried their burgers and things like that, and they're like, I would have never known that was vegan. Like it was amazing, it was comforting, it was so good. And they're really kind of revolutionizing how people view veganism, especially in Fresno and just in general.
That's awesome. And I love it when that happens, right?
Yeah.
When vegan establishments offer food and then non-vegans don't even know that it's vegan or they
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
And
And then
then,
you're like, see, it's not so complicated. It's
uh,
not so, you know,
right.
it's not as you thought.
See, our food is good.
Yeah, I know. It's like you almost have to prove to people, like, look, our food is good. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And so my next question would be, where is your favorite place to visit?
I think one of my favorite places to visit is definitely San Francisco. I'm a Bay Area native, so I just absolutely love the city. I just love the diversity, the culture, the food, the liveliness of the city. And of course, they have some of the best like vegan restaurants out there and options and things like that, and bakeries and just you know, creameries and stuff like that. So I definitely have to say San Francisco is one of my favorite places to
Yeah,
visit.
it's definitely a fan fave.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah. And so, so you know, you're in college, you've got a ton of stuff going on. When everything is all done, what do you do to take care of Mikayla? What is your favorite form of self-care?
I think honestly, my favorite form of self care is cooking. I love being in the kitchen and I love just trying new recipes, kind of just taking a cookbook, opening up flipping to a page and being like, you know what, this sounds really good cooking. And I love just cooking for other people. I think that makes me extremely happy when I cook for other people and then they appreciate my meals and they like, what I've kind of created. And I think it's almost soothing to be in the kitchen and
Yeah.
kind of just take the time to craft a meal, and then you could be proud of yourself at the end. Obviously if it does turn out. If it doesn't, you're a little bit disappointed. But I love just experimenting and trying new things and seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that when you start to do that, of course, like you said, some work, some don't. But I find that once you start getting creative in the kitchen, each time you go there, you get more and more creative, and it becomes
Yeah.
natural to you.
And you
Yeah.
kind of learn like the basics of cooking just through
Mhm.
trial and error. And I think that's like kind of the beauty in cooking for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so my final question to you would be, do you have a favorite quote, saying, or words to live by?
I wrote it down just because I don't have the quote memorized. But one of my favorite quotes is kindness is spreading sunshine into other people's lives regardless of the weather. I think that kindness just goes a long way. And I
Yeah.
think it is just especially needed in day-to-day life. And I think that's just something I try to live by every day is just be kind and have kindness and kind of just be optimistic and empathetic with people about certain situations and things like that. So that I would have to say is my favorite quote.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I agree 100%. Kindness is everything. So
Mhm.
Mikayla, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, if you go on Instagram, find vegan grocery grabs, so that way you can find the latest and greatest at your grocery store. And thank you again so much, Mikayla. I really appreciate all the great information and tips that you shared today.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for having me. I really appreciate being on your platform of amazing people watching your channel. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.